never thought the worst betrayal of my adult life would come from my own sister, let alone over something as humiliating as losing my job. My name is Joanna Ellis. I'm 36, and 3 months ago I was laid off from a company I'd poured a decade of my life into. I didn't lose it because I was incompetent or careless. I lost it because they reorganized departments. And in the shuffle, someone who trained half the team, was deemed non-essential. The day I got the call, I remember standing in my kitchen, still wearing my ID badge, clutching a mug I hadn't even sipped from. I felt completely hollow. I wasn't angry yet. That came later. Mostly I was embarrassed, ashamed, like I'd been caught pretending to be more capable than I really was. And the first person I called? My sister, Elaine. She picked up on the second ring, chirpy as always, mid-spin class or Starbucks line. I don't even remember. What I do remember is telling her I'd just been laid off and her reaction wasn't, "Oh no, are you okay?" But, "Oh, wow. Seriously? What happened this time?" This time. Like failure was just a recurring event in my calendar. I should have hung up. Instead, I let her talk at me for 15 minutes straight, throwing around phrases like market volatility and corporate fat trimming, like she suddenly had an MBA instead of her gig as a freelance lifestyle blogger who reviews face serums on Instagram. But I stayed quiet. Because that's what I've always done. Elaine has always had this way of twisting any situation to fit her narrative. And when we were kids, I thought maybe it was just her way of coping. Our parents divorced when we were 9 and 11, and she turned into the entertainer. Smiling for relatives, cracking jokes at my expense, keeping attention firmly on her. I was the quieter one, the smart one, the serious one. The one people forgot was in the room unless something needed fixing. So when I lost my job, I called her thinking she might, I don't know, get it. Instead, she got content out of it. Because 2 days after that phone call, my cousin Mark texted me a screenshot from our extended family's Facebook group. There it was, a post from Elaine that read, "Life comes at you fast, even for the ones who always acted like they had it together. Reality check. Stay humble." The comments underneath were full of laughing emojis and "wait who?" style responses, and someone had even written, "Oof, that sounds like Joanna." I couldn't breathe. I remember rereading it a dozen times, like maybe I'd misread something. But no. She'd weaponized my worst moment for a cheap laugh and some likes, and it only got worse. I started getting texts from distant aunts asking if I needed help updating my resume. My dad called to say Elaine had mentioned I might be struggling and asked if I needed to move back home. One family friend even sent me a job listing for a front desk receptionist at a dog grooming place, like I hadn't just spent 10 years managing multi-million-dollar ad campaigns. Elaine never apologized. In fact, the next time we spoke, she brushed it off. "Oh, come on, Joe. People didn't know it was you. Besides, you always bounce back." She even smiled when she said it. And that's when something inside me shifted. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't ashamed. I was done. I didn't scream at her. I didn't post a rebuttal or go nuclear on the group chat. I just quietly unfriended her, left the family thread, and started planning the next steps of my life in silence. I didn't know what was coming next, but I knew one thing for sure. Elaine would never see it coming. Because now, 3 months later, I'm standing in the gymnasium of our old high school, the one where she once stole my prom date and my valedictorian speech. And I'm about to walk onto a stage she thinks she was invited to speak on. She thinks she's here to be honored. But the truth is, she's about to witness something that'll rewrite everything she thought she knew about me. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't always start with the moment you realize someone's hurt you. Sometimes it starts way earlier, years, even decades, when you're still too young to know the difference between love and control. Elaine and I weren't close as kids, and we never really got the chance to be. After our parents split up, Mom went full-time nurse and full-time emotionally absent, while Dad moved 4 states away and only remembered birthdays if his new wife reminded him. Elaine, being older, figured out fast that the only way to get attention in the chaos was to shine. Loud, funny, dramatic. She told stories that never happened, staged breakdowns over lost hair ties, and once faked a sprained ankle just to get out of cleaning the kitchen. People fell for it. Every time. Meanwhile, I just stayed out of the way. I read. I organized. I learned to be small. At school, I got perfect attendance and a math award. At home, I learned how to keep my voice down when Elaine had a mood. I can't even count the number of times I heard Mom say, "Joe, just let it go. Elaine's sensitive." What nobody ever said was, "Elaine is cruel." But she was. Not in the obvious slap you kind of way. No, Elaine was the kind of cruel that looked like a compliment with a knife inside it. "Wow, Joe, that's actually cute on you. I never would have tried that cut with your hips. I love how you don't care what people think. You're so brave." She once submitted a short story I wrote in 9th grade to the school literary magazine under her name. It got published. When I confronted her, she just blinked and said, "You're better at science anyway." By the time I got into college, on scholarship, mind you, Elaine had dropped out of 2 community colleges and was bouncing between jobs she thought were too basic for her brand. She worked briefly as a receptionist for a plastic surgeon, then as a wellness coach, despite not having any credentials. She always seemed to land on her feet, though, usually through some guy with a condo and an ego. I kept hoping she'd grow out of it. That maybe if I just stayed steady long enough, she'd come around. Realize I wasn't her enemy. That she didn't need to compete with me because I wasn't competing with her. But that hope died for good the night she stole Alex. Alex was, well, it for me. We'd been together 2 years, and I'd actually started picturing a life with him. He was kind, funny, the first person who really saw me and didn't think quiet meant weak. Elaine met him at a family barbecue. I remember her laughing extra loud, brushing imaginary lint off his shoulder, tilting her head like she couldn't quite believe I'd landed someone like him. I made a joke about it later. Something like, "Don't steal my boyfriend." Half laughing, half nervous. She just raised an eyebrow and said, "Sweetie, if he can be stolen, maybe he wasn't yours." 3 weeks later, I found out they'd slept together. He confessed. She didn't. She just said, "It didn't mean anything." As if that somehow made it better. That was 5 years ago, and I honestly thought nothing she did after that could top it. But I was wrong. Because when she blasted my layoff to our family and laughed while doing it, it wasn't just humiliating. It was personal. A reminder that no matter how far I'd come, she still saw me as the person she could cut down when it suited her. And worse, so did everyone else. No one called her out. No one even asked me directly if it was true. They just assumed she was right. Because she always had been the loud one, the shiny one, the one who got the final word. Until now. Because standing backstage at this high school event I never planned to attend again, holding the printed program in my hand and reading the title under my name. Keynote speaker Joanna Ellis, From Job Loss to Purpose. I saw her name listed too. Not as a speaker, but as a featured guest being honored for her online contributions to community morale. The same online presence she used to mock me. And just before the curtain lifted, someone handed me a mic and whispered, "Your sister just arrived. Front row, bright yellow dress, hard to miss." I stepped into the light with my heart pounding in my ears, because I was about to speak. But not just for the crowd. For the first time in my life, I was going to speak for me. The first week after losing my job was a blur of sleepless nights, bad coffee, and shame that clung to me like a second skin. I didn't even cry. Not really. I just shut down. Kept telling myself it wasn't the end of the world. People get laid off all the time. I wasn't the first. I wouldn't be the last. But that didn't make it hurt any less. What made it unbearable wasn't the pink slip, or the cleared-out desk, or even the goodbye lunch where no one made eye contact with me. It was what came after, when people stopped calling, when the silence in my apartment became louder than my thoughts. I'd wake up every morning, reach for my phone out of habit, and realize there were no emails, no meetings, No one waiting on me to solve anything. I wasn't needed. And still I didn't tell anyone. Not my friends, not my mom. Just Elaine. Because no matter how messed up our history was, she was still the person I called when I didn't know who else to trust. I told myself she'd changed, that we were adults now, that maybe, she'd finally show up for me. Instead, she took my pain and made it content. After her little reality check post went semi-viral in our family group, she texted me this gem. You should really get ahead of the story. Silence just looks like guilt. Like guilt was something I owed anyone for being laid off. I didn't respond. But that didn't stop her. She started tagging me in subtle posts. Those just checking in on your strong friends graphics with captions like, sometimes the ones who seem most put together are actually falling apart. People started DMing me links to resume workshops. One even sent me a coupon for a temp agency. Meanwhile, she was going live almost nightly with her followers to talk about toxic corporate culture and how hustle culture is breaking women down. She'd throw in lines like, I know someone very close to me who just lost everything because she burned herself out trying to impress the wrong people. I watched it once. Just once. And I sat on my couch shaking with anger. Not just because she was lying, but because deep down, I knew she wanted this. Elaine thrived when I crumbled. My success was always inconvenient for her brand. But now she got to be the big sister again. The one who warned me. The one who tried to help. But what she didn't know, what no one knew, was that I wasn't as down and out as she thought. Because while she was spinning narratives and soaking in attention, I was quietly working behind the scenes. A month earlier, I'd started writing anonymously on a platform called Medium. Personal essays, job loss reflections, raw stuff I didn't have the guts to post under my name. One of them titled, When Losing Your Job Feels Like Losing Your Identity, started gaining traction. Then one day I got an email. It was from the co-founder of a startup I admired, a woman who'd read my essay and wanted to talk. She said it felt like I'd written from inside her own burnout spiral. Said she was building something different and wanted voices like mine at the table. I couldn't believe it. I still don't, honestly. Within 2 weeks, I'd signed a contract as their director of strategic storytelling. Remote, flexible, and double my old salary. It was everything I never dared hope for. But here's where things get poetic. That same week, my high school's alumni coordinator emailed out of the blue, said they were planning a career spotlight event. Someone had anonymously nominated me after reading my piece on Medium, and they wanted me to be the keynote speaker. I almost said no. But then I found out Elaine was already listed as an honoree for her contributions to women's mental health content. Apparently, she'd submitted her own nomination. I didn't tell anyone. Not the organizer. Not Elaine. I just quietly accepted the invitation. And when the coordinator asked if I'd like to give my speech before or after the honoree acknowledgements, I said, put me on first. That way, she'd have to sit through it. Every word. I'd planned to just share my journey. Inspire some students. Keep it classy. But that changed the night before the event. Because I accidentally discovered something on my sister's YouTube channel. A private video. Probably uploaded by mistake. In it, she's sitting on her couch with a glass of wine, ranting to her boyfriend. She's laughing, full-on cackling about how pathetic Joe looked when she called crying about her job. And then she says it. Clear as day. I've been waiting for this fall for years. She needed to be knocked down, and I'm the one who finally did it. I watched it 3 times. Then I downloaded it. I didn't sleep the night before the event. Not because I was nervous to speak or scared of crowds. No. I was wide awake, lying on the guest bed at my mom's house, listening to the wind scrape against the old window panes, replaying Elaine's voice from that video over and over again in my head. She needed to be knocked down, and I'm the one who finally did it. I stared at the ceiling, numb and buzzing at the same time. It wasn't just the cruelty of the words, it was the casualness, the laughter. like I was a plotline in her content calendar, like my pain was entertainment. And in that moment, something snapped in me. Not in a fiery, throw-a-chair kind of way. No, this was colder, calmer, clean. I wasn't going to confront her backstage. I wasn't going to scream or demand an apology. I was going to tell the truth. In front of everyone. Just not the way she expected. The gym was already filling up when I arrived. Folding chairs in crooked rows, a makeshift stage lit by string lights, and a long banquet table in the back with mini quiches and lukewarm lemonade. Exactly the kind of small-town nostalgia that used to make me feel small. But not today. Elaine showed up 10 minutes before start time, like she always did when she needed everyone to see her entrance. Bright yellow dress, designer bag, full contour makeup at 10 a.m. She scanned the room, then spotted me near the podium. Her smile was syrupy and smug. She walked over like she owned the place. "You clean up nice," she said, eyeing my black suit. Very TED Talk chic. I didn't answer. Just handed her a folded program and pointed at the front row. "Reserved seat," I said. "Wouldn't want you to miss a word." She laughed. "Don't worry, I'm sure you'll inspire someone." I smiled. "Oh, I plan to." When the MC called my name and I stepped up to that mic, the room fell into that kind of quiet that makes you hear your own heartbeat. I scanned the crowd. Teachers, old classmates, students, a few familiar family friends, and Elaine, front and center, legs crossed, chin tilted, that same tight-lipped smile she wore at every one of my life's major moments. The one that said, "You still don't matter more than me." And so I began. I was laid off 3 months ago after 10 years in marketing. For the first time in my adult life, I had no plan, no job, no title, just silence. I let that hang. I saw heads nodding. But I learned something in that silence. That sometimes the people closest to you aren't supporting you, they're studying you, waiting for the crack. Elaine's smile faltered just a little. Because it wasn't just the job loss that hurt. It was realizing how quickly people will weaponize your vulnerability if it makes them feel taller. She shifted in her seat, crossed and uncrossed her legs. I kept going. I talked about being underestimated, about how grief can look like stillness, and about how I used that stillness to write, rebuild, and reclaim my voice, on my own. And then I said it. What they didn't know was that I was already becoming something stronger. I was building again, quietly, carefully, while they were busy writing my downfall. There was a pause. 1 beat, 2. And then I did something I hadn't planned until that exact second. I took out my phone, walked to the podium screen, and mirrored the screen. And I hit play. The video of Elaine popped up. Crystal clear audio. Her voice, her face, her laugh. She needed to be knocked down, and I'm the one who finally did it. The audience froze. Audible gasps. Someone near the back whispered, "Is that?" Elaine shot to her feet. "You can't do this. This is illegal. That was private." I looked straight at her. "No, Elaine, you made me public. You made my failure a storyline. This question mark? This is just clarity." The MC moved toward me, unsure whether to intervene. The crowd didn't move. They were glued to it, to her, and I saw it. The first crack in her armor. Not rage, not bravado. Panic. She looked small. For the first time in our lives, I was the one holding the mic. And she had no script. I turned the video off. "I didn't come here to humiliate anyone," I said, voice steady. "But I won't pretend anymore. I won't shrink for someone else's comfort, especially not for someone who spent years trying to erase me just because I didn't play loud." I ended my speech. Applause wasn't immediate. But it came. Soft at first, then swelling. I stepped off the stage and walked past Elaine without looking back. But I heard her. She was crying. Elaine didn't speak to me after the event. Not at the reception. Not on the sidewalk outside where people milled around awkwardly pretending they hadn't just witnessed a public unraveling. And not even when Mom pulled her aside and said quietly, "You need to fix this." She just got in her car, still in that highlighter yellow dress, mascara streaked, jaw clenched, and drove off. For a few days I waited, half hoping for an apology, even if it was clumsy, even if it came with excuses. Something, anything. But there was nothing, just silence. And I thought, maybe that's the real ending here, just distance. But then the real fallout began. Someone had clipped that video moment from the event and shared it on TikTok. It wasn't me. I would have never done that. But I guess when you build your platform off of curated inspiration and then someone cracks it wide open on stage, people notice. The clip went viral in our town, then in our state. Elaine's followers started asking questions, then unsubscribing. Brand sponsors quietly stepped away. A mental health nonprofit she'd partnered with issued a statement distancing themselves from harmful behavior disguised as empowerment. She made a tearful apology video a week later. "I made a mistake," she said, voice breaking. "I let jealousy and pride cloud my judgment. I hurt someone I love." But no one bought it. You could see in her eyes she wasn't sorry she'd done it. She was sorry she got caught. I didn't respond. I didn't post. I didn't even comment. I just kept moving forward. The startup job I mentioned? It's become the best professional chapter of my life. I work with women who've clawed their way out of worse situations than mine and still show up with grit and grace. We launched a mentorship program last month. I get to help people tell their stories without shame. And Elaine? Last I heard, she moved back in with our mom temporarily after breaking her lease. Her channel's still up, but it's quiet now. Videos with low views, barely any comments, the occasional anonymous troll reminding her of the stage speech. She's still trying to rebrand herself. Still trying to matter louder than the silence she's avoided all her life. We haven't spoken since that day. And honestly, that's okay. See, I used to think closure meant a perfect conversation, a heartfelt apology, maybe even reconciliation. But it's not. Not always. Sometimes closure is just choosing not to carry someone's weight anymore. I didn't ruin Elaine's life. She did that herself. All I did was finally step into mine. And I won't lie. For a long time, I carried the shame she put on me. I thought being small made me safe. But now, I understand something deeper. You can't spend your life trying to be less just because someone else is scared of your light. And I'll never do that again. If you've ever had a sibling or someone close to you turn your pain into their performance, I see you. You're not alone. And I'd honestly love to hear your story too. Drop it in the comments if you feel up to it. And if you want more stories like this, real ones, complicated ones, feel free to subscribe and stick around. I'm not here to preach, just to share. And maybe, just maybe, help someone else feel less alone in their mess. Thanks for listening. Truly,